Good afternoon. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Dalmia, Namita Gautam, ladies and gentlemen. When Namita called me to say that you have to come and talk about culture, of course you can't say no to her. I don't know anybody who said no to her and has lived to see the next day. So you immediately change your program and land up to be a speaker. One of the reasons, I get invited to speak at conferences like this is because of my long white hair. Pramila Poddar is there and she knows that too. And that's really the cultural context of this, right? How does culture sort of turn itself around? What is culture? What is it that we are doing here? Why are we saying that culture is the bedrock of wellness? I'm going to give you two small stories because I know that time is short and we've already taken up some time. One is from Australia. We do a whole series of programs there. And in 2001, the then Minister of Interior from Western Australia, who had heard about the work that we'd been doing with street children and children in difficult circumstances in Delhi and in India, had come and said, can you help us? And I said, what is the problem? So he said, in Western Australia, the Aboriginal population is 2%, but the prison population of Western Australia was 98%. And in this particular area, in and around Kalgoorlie, which is the biggest open-faced mine in the world, in a 100-mile radius, the prison population percentage was 100%. That means from cradle to grave, everybody in those communities had been to jail at some point of time. And he was very keen to try and see if there was a way to turn that incidence rate around. And anyway, we went to Kalgoorlie with him, with his colleagues, studied the area for a bit, and then came up with a project. And we said, why don't we use the arts to be able to make this difference? So we worked with these 17 groups of Aboriginals who were spread around this 100-mile radius in and around Kalgoorlie. And what is it that we did? We did fairly simple things. We said to the government of the day, we said, the Aboriginals used to come in to the town, the closest town, every Thursday or Friday to pick up their dole. And that's all their income was, the dole that they got every Thursday or Friday. So the first building was the dole building, where they received their money. The second building was the supermarket, and because they didn't know how to count, if they gave $100 and bought something, and if they were given one $50 note and two $20 notes back, they thought they were being cheated. So the supermarket people used to then count out $1 notes, but only give them, say, $20 back as opposed to $95. The third building was the bar, was the pub. And the fourth building was the brothel, and the fifth building was the police station. So they used to get drunk, go to the brothel, have a fight, get arrested. And this was the cycle. So what we said to government and what we said to the communities, we said, why don't you tell the stories of your rivers, of your universe, the stars and the moon, and the desert and the trees and the animals and the insects, and what you using bits and pieces from the desert, what you daily would use, and tell these stories. And we told the government to send the dole truck out every Thursday or Friday to the community. With that, send the supermarket truck out, and with that, send the pub or the bar truck out. But except that I said that limited, give them 14 pawas or some such thing every week. After 6 months, and we got the University of Western Australia to be able to record this process, in 6 months, these communities created the most incredible installation. The only thing that I got wrong was that you couldn't walk and see the installation. It was so large that you had to go in a helicopter to see it spread across this 100-mile radius. And it was so beautiful because it told their stories and it gave them the sense of ownership. It allowed them for the first time to stand up in conferences and places like this and let people hear their point of view, not as just people who receive dole, people who were considered to be ugly. And people till 1967, perhaps some of you don't know, they were labeled as flora and fauna. Until 1967, you could go out and shoot a kangaroo or shoot an aboriginal and get $500 for that. Till 1987, if you had a baby who was born out of an aboriginal and a white person's offspring, they were taken away to the Christmas Islands, and that was the lost generation. So we're talking about now, not so long ago. And what did this do? It brought the incidence rate down of the prison population to 27%. And this really, in many ways, sort of embodies how the arts can and does help society. In South Africa in 2005 or 2006, our then Consul General Navdeep Suri was asked by the local government, the Gauteng government, to ask us to come in and again give them a solution of how in Newtown, which is the central business district, they could turn it around and bring back investment. Since South Africa's independence, what happened is they opened their economy, they opened their borders. All of Africa came into South Africa, arriving in places like Johannesburg, at the railway station and the bus station, which was located in the central business district. The amount of crime that flowed was just incredible, as a result of which most people moved out of Newtown. Only two banks remained, First National, FNB and Standard Bank. They went to the government and said, if you don't turn around the situation, we too will leave and this place will go to rack and ruin. When Stephen Sachs, who was the then head of the city, took me around, I mean, the first time when Navdeep said, come to South Africa, I said, it's too far, there's no flatbed, there's no direct flight, I'm not coming. But anyway, I went for a day. They lined up all of these meetings. We drove around the city. And again, we gave them a commonplace solution. I said to Stephen Sachs that delineate an arts district or a precinct within Newtown. And I said, provide the best kind of lighting and the best policing. And I promised him that in 3 years' time, I would walk across Mary Fitzgerald Square with my mobile phone in my hand and I wouldn't be mugged. Today, Mary Fitzgerald Square and the arts district is vibrant. We created opportunities for galleries, for museums. The old powerhouse was converted into a conference center. We brought in women to look at some of the policing in the neighborhood. We brought in festivals into the Mary Fitzgerald Square, and today it's the hub of activity, creating new investment, creating new opportunities for housing and for work. And we delineated a particular area which was only restricted to women. We said, women will come here, they will make the place safe. And this is exactly what we did in New York. The head of, a particular group, they had one daughter. This daughter sadly had got into drugs. However, she loved India. So the family said, what can we do for her future? I said, why don't you convert some of your warehousing on the Hudson River and turn that into places for design and the arts? And I said, charge $1 rent. Make sure that you have a whole area which is located only for women, designers, entrepreneurs, artists, and one for the LGBTQ plus community. In 1 year, they turned that around. Sadly, it didn't do a contract with them. They turned it around. The property prices went up 1,200% in that place. Today, you see only blocks of flats. So women can do so much. The arts and women can bring about so much of change. Today in India, we have over 400 million people who look at a primary or a secondary form of income through the arts, whether it's telling stories, the manganias, the langas, those of whom who weave, those of people who create bags and crafts and artisans and pulkari and so much more. We need to be able to connect them to the market, as the minister said. Each of you in this room are entrepreneurs. Each of you have been doing this work. Abba Dalmia was here a little while ago. The kind of work that they've done has been incredible. All of you need to join hands to be able to create these opportunities, not just in the cities and towns, but really across the length and breadth of the country. Women do make the difference. We've seen that women can multitask. Most importantly, women have their egos in check, and women are able to build families, build communities, and bring people together. This is the fundamental way of creating well-being, wellness, and ensuring that our country and our people and the health of our people continues to be at the best possible level. So thank you all. Enjoy the conference. Namita Gautam, thank you again for making this possible. And of course to FICCI Flow. We need to do much more with FICCI Flow, even in FICCI's creative sector, whatever. And we really reach out to Mrs. Dalmia and all your colleagues to be able to join hands between FICCI and Flow to make this possible. Thank you.